Dr. Raghunath, coming to you, when you were talking about leadership and so on and so forth, how would you really tackle this question of instilling that whole idea of pushing the faculty into a direction of industry partnerships and things? What's the role do you think a director actually plays in it, or a vice chancellor plays in it, and how are you doing it?
I think it's basically about aspiration. Where do you pitch aspiration? As he says, you see, agenda is another name for saying what is it that you want to accomplish. I think aspiration, most important. You get a leadership position, where do you pitch aspiration? Once you pitch aspiration, the next thing the leader has to do is to, in a very figurative sense, inspire. You can only inspire if your incentive system is aligned. And if you, third thing he has to do is to give resources, context, venues, see others, go and work with somebody else, we will fund you, it's okay, you are not able to teach for 3 months, invest all your time. So all these changes, you have to be flexible when you handle people, right? I mean, all of us know this. These are all brilliant people, these are not fellows who can be slave driven, nikal dunga. He is a good head, or he knows how to go into a class, bullshit and come out. So, that's not the way. What I am trying to say is that education as a sector has never been treated as a sector which will create knowledge. Education as a sector has been treated as an area where you disseminate, that is fine, as he says. We have a large part of humanity here which wants employability, which is very different from discovery and innovation, which BITS and all others are very proud of them. When I go to INSEAD, I find a research associate who is actually a BITS student. I am so proud of this particular institute, because wherever I go, I find their people, their own students, moving in directions which are of global standards. I think leadership is all about creating opportunities, giving resources, and supporting them with aligned incentives. If you do all of this, I think our country with very, very brilliant people will do extremely well.
I have to ask you a follow-on question on this. How are you incentivizing, as an institution, industry interaction within the faculty? I understand there would be systems and things which IMB has for incentivizing research. There is an award system that you actually have in place. But is there an award system that you're creating for industry interaction, or you're still discovering that?
So it's all linked. See, if anybody specializes in an area, I mean, he's in robotics, but he can find his path, so I can't talk about him, and neither can I talk about him. But if you are into fuzzy areas like in management, management is actually application driven, right? Practice driven. Absolutely. So there is theory, but theory has to be applied first. So the thing is, we don't treat industry interaction as a also ran agenda. We are more interested in industry as an area which will throw up interesting questions. What are the most relevant questions? Industry tells us that in our context, you may have a great heart monitor or ECG equipment for the world, but when it comes to India, GE has to produce something which can be handheld and which will give you a report in less than 50 rupees.
Sure.
That's the challenge.
Absolutely. Professor Dr. Mantha, you were saying something.
Taking off from what he said, I was thinking about we need to move out from pedagogy driven, structured environments into creativity approach. We are most of the time pedagogy driven, we are not creativity driven. So we need, our universities need to inspire into break those shackles, move out, and those kind, at least a part of the population would benefit through that process.
You know what you're saying is something like a Medici effect. Bring different schools of thought together, make them work together, and that's where innovation is going to happen. Creativity is going to happen.
One big challenge for technical education is, at least I have seen in my environment, I mean, going to different universities, looking at the curriculum and things like that. Most of it is one-dimensional. And today, the fear is that most of the technical guys, the engineering guys who come out are one-dimensional. I mean, they need to look at social sciences, the liberal sciences. I mean, there is absolutely no involvement there. So therefore, in order to create a engineer who has I mean, a lateral thinking ability, you need to relook at the curriculum itself. And I mean, I don't know, it's a difficult proposition because an engineer through his 4 years goes through so many courses. You can't burden him with many more. But you need to look at a judicious mix, which makes him a much more open-minded person at the end of the day. Yeah?
So, yes, Dr. Raghuram, he said something about open-minded, and Dr. Raghunath actually said about INSEAD students. Your point here, how do you think INSEAD is doing it? Oh, sorry, how do you think BITS Pilani is doing it?
We tend to quote MIT, Stanford, IITs, BITS Pilani, etc. In some sense, I think there is another segment, mid-segment, which one has to focus on. What are those universities' challenges? And world over, I think this study has shown that these are the universities which tend to interact with the industries a little more. You just take faculty. The top-notch faculty are not very comfortable with interacting with industry because sometimes that is a very short-term objective of delivering something. And new knowledge creation, sometimes, they say, I don't want to get into this, I will publish in high-quality journals. So let us leave them aside. But I think the next segment, who are open to this, and if we create incentives and programs around them, and industries have that target as a target group. The industries also, I am seeing, when they come, they want to always get students from IIMs, BITS or IITs. They hesitate to go to the next, saying that they are not employable. They are also not investing. If we have to create a situation where we encourage more models, I think industries have to open up to that mid-segment of these things, and they are looking for industry interactions. Today, unfortunately, whenever you talk to them, they only talk about placement. I have seen in many fora where we discuss, all the universities, directors, vice chancellors from those segments, they say, how do I get more employment for my students? The short-term objective, will you come to my campus? Soon after that, they will exchange cards and then say, please visit my campus for recruitment. I think both sides have to work on this. So there are examples. In Boston, you say you can talk about MIT, but then there is a Northeastern State University there. They have a different model. University of Maryland has a different model. So I think one has to open up to these different models, and that would encourage more university-industry interaction, as I see.
You said something very interesting and very important, that directors are just driven towards placements. And I think the industry interaction has to go to some other different level. The different level has to be, how do I encourage students to work with enterprises, large enterprises, and create enterprises within the system or within institutions? Why don't you instill that spirit? Even say mid-level institutions, if you go to people for jobs, they will shun you. They will actually take a back step because that's not the right way of doing it.
The professor made an important point. I think a leader's job is to create that environment. And if leader does not have that long-term objective, and my term is only 1 year, I want to just show how many students got placed, and then I will look at short-term plans. So if I create that environment, sustained environment, and the results will show. I think today what lacks is that vision among the leaders.
Dr. Raghunath, so how do you think we actually work with the industry to create enterprises on campuses?
Yeah, sure.
How would you do that?
Well, as I said, first thing, be open to industry presence, first thing. And also encourage brilliant faculty to engage with the industry. See, as he rightly said, there are very brilliant faculty members who refuse to engage with industry. Not because they don't want to engage, they think it's a distraction to the kind of pursuit that they have in terms of their research and whatever else that they're doing. But I think the more important thing is to get industry involved in all educational institutions. Some of them will simply do it as social service. Nowadays, corporate social responsibility is a very important piece of work that they do. So, especially in areas which are mufusal areas and rural areas, I think they can have a major role to play. And the more they come in, and more the faculty actually mix with the industry, I think we will have a way forward.
That'll be very interesting. Dr. Raghunath, thanks a lot. Dr. Raghuram, Dr. Mantha, so kind of you for being on the panel. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it.